Gun violence. What causes it? Today on The Unobserved American. As you all saw, we just took that moment of silence with that candle in honor of all the people who have lost their lives to gun violence, especially those in El Paso and Daytona this past weekend. Now, a lot of you guys are probably wondering, why is it taking so long for me to put this video out? So many people have already done videos on it. Well, apart from wanting to get the full story before I say anything, I also wanted to make sure that the facts were sorted. Because while a story can be put out in full, the facts may not be there. And here's the facts so far. So many outlets are blaming social media. White supremacy, because you can't say that on YouTube, but it rhymes with soup, bread, and me. Okay? Trump's tweets, or just inflammatory tweets in general, mental illness, video games, and violent rhetoric. So, what are we to make of all this? Okay, video games, really? You guys have been saying that since the 80s, so let's knock that out the water, okay? Sure, some kids, it probably makes them a little more violent than others. Those kids are easily impressionable, and it's the parents' job to teach those kids the difference between video games and reality, and why there's a difference, and why there has to be a difference. So that one's off the table. Violent rhetoric. That goes on both. That's for both sides. You know, however you want to look at it. Because one shooter was going after them. They're immigrants in America, and then you got the Daytona shooter out there doing this for the boys, as it were, Antifa, bunch of cowards. And let's just make this clear. I do not condone any violence for any reason. Unless you are defending yourself and that's your last resort, I do not condone any form of violence. And by defending yourself, I mean you're in fear of your life, not just, oh, you got punched once, deal with it. So, you know, violent rhetoric, while that stands, people know what rhetoric is. They can generally see through it, and those that can't, there's underlying issues, right? Same for people that, you know, look at Trump's tweets and they're like, oh, there's an invasion, there's invaders, blah, blah, blah. You know, completely unrelated, but there was a news article of a gentleman who chokeslammed a child. It's not funny, but it is. Like, he chokeslammed a kid for what he thought the kid was, what he thought was the kid disrespecting the flag. Okay, because he was in the military, and he's got a little something going on upstairs that, you know, happens when you enter the military, and you see some things that you can't explain to other people without scarring them as well. And, you know, again, I'm not condoning anything, but what my point is, yeah, you can connect rhetoric or like Trump's tweets, which this guy did to the choke slam. You know, Trump made a comment about standing up for the flag, defending your country, you know, pretty normal stuff, pretty tame stuff. Like, yeah, stand up for your flag, be proud for your country and stand up for it. That doesn't mean go out there and choke slam a child. But the man who chokeslammed the child, connected Trump's tweets in his mind. See, I mentioned mental illness. We'll go back. And then white soup bread on me, or at least a word that rhymes with soup bread on me. You know, things like that exist. Okay, we can't deny that. But again, if you really think that in this modern world of multiculturalism, not just in terms of countries, but in terms of like babies and, you know, different cultures coming together in a procreational form and creating beautiful mixed children, if you think white people are going to come back all of a sudden and just be like, you're an idiot. Just hands down, you're an idiot. And all that stuff, all that nonsense with racism and stuff, that's all nonsense, okay? Let's get that out of the way. There's none of that. And then we go to social media, okay? Social media in and of itself is an illness. Now, you're saying, wait a minute, you're on a social media forum right now. Yes, but when we're talking social media, we mean things like Facebook. You know, people always mention Reddit, 8chan, 4chan, Instagram, MySpace. I know MySpace isn't a thing. Calm down. Okay, but let's bring it back. Let's get a petition started for that. We got petitions for dumb things. Let's bring MySpace back to its greatness, okay? Tom, wherever you are, come back. Anyways, I digress. If you're looking at posts on social media and you're not doing any fact checking, these are the people that are just believing all this violent rhetoric and looking at tweets and being like, oh my God, this is reality. You know, they see one Carlos Maza tweet, you know, and they're like, I know everything. Thanks, Vox. Or they see one Jared Holt tweet and they're like, I'm going to go commit a mass shooting. Oh, wait, that was the Dayton shooter. You know, and they're debating on calling Antifa a domestic terror group. I think at this point, we can call Antifa a domestic terror group. 2 instances. One at the what was it? The federal at the ICE center in Oregon. The guy got shot, or Washington State, with one of the two, and then this. Nah, time to call it like that. Any hate group, any group that symbolizes hate, has anything like that, they're all domestic terrorists at this point. If you have differing viewpoint than other people, that does not make you a domestic terrorist. That makes you someone who has free thought and doesn't believe in groupthink. Which, again, draws us back to social media. You've got all these goings on social media, right? You got Debbie telling you about what her kid's doing. Her unvaccinated child is only going to live to 5, okay? And who may or may not be patient 0 for the deadliest virus that the human race has ever seen. Debbie, please vaccinate your child. And then, you know, she's over here reading all this anti-vax stuff, but not doing her research. That's why she doesn't do it. Then you got this guy over here. Let's say his name is Jeff, okay? Jeff's over here reading a whole bunch of propaganda, whether it be communist, you know, racist. It's propaganda. He's reading it, okay? And he's just eating it up. So you got to look at someone's mental state. They talk about guns are the issue. What's the issue? Whether it be someone who's on social media reading this or that, someone playing a video game, someone reading a tweet. What goes on here or what's being said here has happened in numerous articles. They're blaming all these things. They don't talk about where the fuck the parents are. Right? They don't talk about the individual. They just want to lump. Okay? But the main reason gun violence happens, and I'm sorry to blow your lids off here, ladies and gentlemen. So sit back, put your seatbelts on, however, 5-point harness, however you got it. People are the problem. Guns can't pull their own triggers. Bullets can't pull the trigger. Okay? And don't worry, there's been too much news for me not to do Wednesday and Friday uploads as well. So Wednesday and Friday we'll delve more into things like gun policy and stuff, and there's a lot that's being talked about right now, so it's something major. But people are the main reason that gun violence happens. Whether it be because someone's so stupid, and you could say mental illness, but it's really just ignorance. It's stupidity. And while, yes, mental illness can play a significant role, okay, that's the only one on this list that has any semblance of relevance, okay? Because if somebody's tweets that I get being incensed by a tweet like, yeah, woo, like getting excited about it, but like being like, I'm gonna strap up and go kill me some Mexicans. That's a mental illness, okay? That's an ignorance that cannot be fixed. And unfortunately, there's a lot more people out there than we know of that are like this. But there's warning signs, okay? You just gotta know what they are, and you just gotta, you can't be afraid in this time of snitches get stitches. If you feel uncomfortable with someone saying something, or someone says something to you that makes you go, oh, okay, well, maybe they just might. Don't be afraid to report it. Who do you report it to? Cops, FBI, whoever you want to, okay? Go tell it to your priest and tell him, I don't even know who to talk to. Your priest will tell you, well, you just talk to God. God ain't gonna do nothing. I'm sorry, God can't do nothing for that. But who can is law enforcement. So just keep an eye on people. That's the real thing. And if you go back and watch Outside the Democratic Debates Part 2, you'll see how crazy it gets out there. And you'll see how crazy it gets out there. And why people get these mindsets. They see things, they hear things, they read things, and it's just like, oh my God. So, in Outside Democratic Debates Part 2, a guy literally is like pushing me, talking about, where's your gun at? Pull your gun out. Where's your gun at? I don't own a gun. Except unless you count these two. Two, I wouldn't take that even if I owned a gun, because that would be completely irresponsible. I would not take my gun to a crowded public space where plenty of people on an opposing side could potentially, anybody could potentially, for that matter, try and get that out of a holster if I had a holster, right? And do the same thing. And I would be on the hook for that because it's my gun, right? So people are the issue. It's not guns. It's mental illness and people. But mainly people. And we can't lump everyone together. You have to look at cases individually. But anyways, guys, so much news has gone on. So much has happened in terms of all this mass shooting stuff and information about that. And you'll notice I didn't give the names of either shooter, because they're scumbags and they don't deserve that. The mainstream media has already given all the attention. And, I didn't fact check this, but I don't think my grandma would lie to me. Okay. She told me that the Daytona shooter shot his own sister. One of the first people he shot. Imagine being that guy. Imagine being that guy and finding that out. God, that's karma. Come back to bite you square in the ass. You garbage human being. But in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, prayers and much hope goes out to the families and the victims that did not pass away, the at least 30 victims that did not pass away. Or there was at least 30 victims who passed away. And to those who did not, a speedy recovery, and I do mean that in all senses: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, however you need to heal. To the families of those people and to those who lost loved ones, there's no words that anyone can say to make you feel any way other than you're feeling right now. But these type of actions are not condoned by the American citizens. At least I can say for the right side of the political spectrum, in terms of the Antifa side, I can't say for them, but I would like to hope that there's good people there and they too feel for you at this time. These are the videos we shouldn't have to make. Nobody should have to report this. Nobody should have to make these videos. Nobody should have to talk about this. But unfortunately, by the nature of humanity, we do. And instead of yelling at each other in the streets over this, maybe we can just talk. There's already been enough hatred and violence that's gone on. Maybe we can just start talking. Okay? And you guys can see it in my videos. There was yelling. There was just complete disrespect. That's all got to stop. Otherwise, more idiots like these two that did this in El Paso and Daytona are going to show themselves. And that's not something any of us want. And if that is something you want, I really do recommend that you pack every single bag you have and get out of this country, because that is not an American value. You can take your ass somewhere where they are like, oh yeah, murdering people's fine. So you go figure that out. Maybe Venezuela's good, because you're probably a socialist anyways. Because that's who was in support of the Daytona shooter, ladies and gentlemen. A bunch of socialists, a bunch of left-leaning Antifa supporters. Not even left-leaning, far-left Antifa supporters, sympathizers, people were. So how can you sympathize with that? Ladies and gentlemen, I don't get it. But just like we started the video, we're going to end it. Here's another candle and a moment of silence for the victims of these shootings. Thanks for watching.